No Man's Sky is almost 10 years old, and I went and brought the game back in August 2016 on the day of release. I think it was 9th of August. Walked into Tesco and I brought the game for the PS4 back then. I still have the actual case behind me here, as you can see. Unfortunately, I have no disc. I think that's at my cousin's somewhere. But anyway, I was one of the people who got caught up in the hype and fanfare of the game. I really enjoyed the trailers. I was looking for this space game, this unlimited universe kind of game where I could basically be and do what I wanted. And that's what the game kind of promised. But it didn't deliver upon release. As we all know the story now, the mostly negative reviews on Steam, the fan backlash, and then of course, the massive redemption arc at the end. And that redemption arc is still going 10 years later. There's been 35 major updates to the game, all free by the way, no DLC, no paying for content, which is absolutely crazy in this day and age, but I thank Hello Games for that. However, not every update has landed perfectly with the community, as happens with any game and any community within that game. But we can't fault them for the ideas they have for the game, and we can't fault them for giving the community free updates over those 10 years. I can't wait to see what the 10th anniversary update is going to be, if there's going to be one. We all think there might be, there most probably is going to be, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that is. But in this video, we're going to go through every major update added to the game. There's 35 major updates. I'm not including all of the patches or all of the patch notes in those updates. I'm not including the expeditions in this one either, because they are a separate time-limited piece of content where all players complete the same milestones and you get all rewards at the end. Perhaps I'll do a separate video on expeditions in the future. This one is going to be focused on those big updates that have come to the game over the past 10 years. And you're going to see in these updates how the game has changed and progressed, and how Hello Games have really shaped it to be the monster it is today. It's not without its faults, of course, like any game, but these updates really have changed it into a completely different beast from when it launched. Thank God Hello Games never gave up on this game. And to be fair to them, the updates came in thick and fast after release. In November of 2016, we got 1.01 Foundation, and this introduced base building, game modes, freighters, farming, and new resources and tech to the game. Players could claim a home planet and build customized outposts using modular parts. You couldn't build a base like you can now. It was a base that you'd find randomly on a planet, one of those base computers you can build now, and then you'd have to build your base around that. Let me know if you remember doing that early on in the game. Really big update, the Foundation one, and it really did set the foundation for updates to come. Pathfinder was next, and that came in March of 2017. That introduced 3 of the current Ectocraft we have, the Roma, Nomad, and the Big Bad Colossus. Base sharing was added to the game, which allowed players to share their bases. Some of them are absolutely incredible. If you haven't checked them out, go and have a look. Ship and weapon classes were introduced. So this is where we got the C, B, A, and S classes. And starships were divided into specific types. You had your hauler, you had your fighter, and you had your shuttle. They were the only 3 ships you had at this point in the game. Permadeath mode was added as well, so when you die, you lose your save completely and you have to start again. I actually suffered this not too long ago with one of my main saves. Photo mode was also added as part of Pathfinder, and this became a massive part of the community culture. August of 2017, so 1 year into No Man's Sky's life, and we've got Atlas Rises. This introduced a 30-hour central storyline, the first steps towards multiplayer, but you could only see blue orbs running around. You couldn't actually see any players, which was quite strange at the time. Portals became a thing as well. You could activate portals and fast travel to other portals like you do today using the glyphs. They also introduced the Traveller race to the lore, and in the old style space stations they added NPC missions, and we got the terrain manipulator as part of the multi-tool, which allowed you to physically dig through planets or actually add to planetary terrain. The terrain manipulator is now an essential tool in No Man's Sky that everybody uses. It was almost an entire year until the next update, which was next in July 2018, and this brought true multiplayer to the game, no longer seeing those orbs floating around. You could have 4-player co-op, and PvP was also introduced. Third-person view was added to the game for both character and ships. Like a few of the massive updates, next saw a massive visual overhaul for the game. and they got away with those random base computers lying around planetary surfaces, and you could now build a base anywhere on a planet. Command fleets were introduced to the game, and you could now have up to 50 frigates in your fleet, and you could send them out on missions. And they added the appearance modifier, so you could now customize your character, making that third-person view feel a bit more personal. In October of 2018, we had the Abyss update. This was all about the water and underwater for the game. Deepened oceans, underwater ruins, sunken freighters, and underwater flora and fauna. They added a new exocraft, the submarine, the Nautilon. They also introduced special underwater base parts so you could build underwater, which I think is a fantastic part of the game. And they added some more story to the game as well with Dreams of the Deep, a underwater focused narrative. Only a month after the Abyss update, we got Visions in November 2018. This added anomalous biomes, so weird planets entered solar systems, which are absolutely fantastic. I love these planets. Taking pictures with photo mode on these anomalous worlds really does provide for some great backdrops. Alien bones, which were high value, were added to the game, and you had to dig them out of the ground using your terrain manipulator. Crashed freighters were added to planetary surfaces, and you could scavenge these crashed freighters for different items and rewards. And they added global community missions. August 2019 saw the Beyond update. Full VR support for No Man's Sky. They completely redesigned the anomaly, so 32 players could be in there at once, making it kind of like a social hub for the community. They allowed players to tame, milk, and physically ride most alien creatures on planets, which was really cool. And they added a bit of overhaul to the base building, which included electrical wiring, solar panels, batteries, and logic gates. So switches, basically. In November of that year, they introduced the Synthesis update. Ship scrapping and upgrading finally became a thing. You could dismantle your ships for parts or just sell them for cash. And you could upgrade their class and inventory slots, which the community was crying out for a long time. And Hello Games listened here, like they do with most of their updates. You can now own more than one multi-tool at this point. This is the first time they added this, all the way back in 2019. And they added first-person viewpoint for all of the current exocraft. In February of 2020, they added a very specific update, the Living Ship update. This is a completely new biological class of ship that is hatched by an egg, and you have to go through quite a lot of process and time within the game to actually get this living ship done. I've got a whole video on it if you want to know how to go about doing it. This came with a specific unique mission set called Starbirth, which kind of took you through that process. And they added random space encounters. So strange events would occur as you were pulsing through space in your starship. This could be giant skulls, trader ships, or even random anomalies. In April of 2020, they added another specific update, and this was the Exomech. They added the Minotaur, the massive bipedal robotic exocraft, which is everyone's favourite. They also added the ability to summon exocraft anywhere on a planet, or directly in a system, as long as your freighter was in that system. And something the community was craving was electrical cloaking. When base building, you had wires going everywhere. If you weren't really neat with them, I wasn't really neat with them, not great at sort of hiding those cables. Very nice to have the electrical cloaking, which just kind of turns it off and makes it so it looks a lot neater and you're not wandering through those cables. A much requested quality of life feature. 2020 was the year of specific updates, with crossplay coming in June of 2020, and this just allowed players from PC, PS4 and Xbox One at the time to play with each other in the same universe. It's actually a really cool update if you ask me. It brings the community closer together. Only a month later, in July of 2020, we got the Desolation update. This was derelict freighters in space. You'd have to explore these derelict freighters, fight alien creatures, and loot as much as you could to get all of the rewards. And they added the ability to change the colours of your capital ship, i.e. your freighter. And of course, these are just the main highlights in these updates. I'm not going through absolutely every single thing, otherwise this video would be impossible to make. But in September of 2020, we got a huge update, the Origins update. There was a planetary overhaul which added millions of new planets. Alien archive buildings were introduced, and they introduced mountains. They kind of changed the height limit of the terrain on the planets to make huge, colossal mountains. Extreme weather was introduced on this planetary overhaul, including volcanoes, firestorms, tornadoes, which can pick you up, lightning, and even meteor showers. New fauna was added as well, and they managed to achieve this overhaul without resetting any player progress, which is pretty hard to do, so kudos, I guess. With 5 updates already provided in 2020, there was one more to go, and that was in November of 2020, which was Next Generation. And this was a massive console upgrade for PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and it brought features like 4K at 60 FPS to the game, 32-player multiplayer to consoles, and full save transfer from the lesser generations, which is great. They kicked off 2021 with an update in February, which was Companions. Now this is something the community had been calling out for a while. It's not my favourite part of the game, but I understand why people like it, and the beauty of No Man's Sky is that if you don't want to interact with a section of the game, you don't actually have to, and it's not going to hinder your progress. The Companions saw alien pets. You could tame, name and raise almost any of the fauna in the game. They could be equipped with mining lasers to gather resources, or something like torches to provide light. And you could harvest eggs from your tamed fauna, put them in the egg sequencer which was provided in the anomaly, and then you could grow them and you could change their size, colour, etc. before hatching, which is pretty cool, to be fair. And it does lead into one of the future updates, and that's one other thing about No Man's Sky. Their updates kind of intersync with each other, they're not just random updates. In June of 2021 we had Prisms, a major visual overhaul again for the game. Lighting, screen space reflections, and parallax occlusion mapping, which made flat textures look 3D apparently. They also added creature fur, flying pets were now allowed, and they had DLSS support for NVIDIA. All great things, but of course the free updates didn't stop there. In September of 2021 we had Frontiers. Alien settlements were introduced, and you could become the overseer to manage the settlement's economy, resolve citizen disputes, and defend it from sentinel attacks. And they had a base building revamp. Hundreds of new structural pieces were added, timber, stone, alloy, and an overhauled UI. Sentinel came about in February of 2022. A combat overhaul was introduced, revamped weapon visuals, added a stun grenade, which I love by the way, cloaking device and deployable shields. New sentinels were added, a hard frame mech, repair drones and summoner drones were also added, the triangle ones, which I always shoot first because they do summon in a lot of sentinels. And as part of the sentinel update you could have your own AI sentinel companion. I normally hide him away, but he's actually quite cool to have around from time to time. Outlaws in April 2022. This added new pirate systems. They featured black market and no sentinel force in these systems, so you could kind of do whatever you wanted without getting attacked by those pesky sentinels. Smuggling became a thing, illegal goods, which you could take into regular systems and sell for a profit, although if you got caught with them you would get attacked by those sentinels. And atmospheric combat, so dogfights now happened in atmospheres of planets, and it was seamless from atmosphere to space, which was really cool actually. And I really like those dogfights, they're one of my favourite parts of the game. Dogfights were highlighted, by the way, in one of the very early trailers for the game before release, so you can start to see now where Hello Games are adding in the features that they said would be in the game. It's partly why the player base has grown, why people have come back to the game, and why those Steam reviews went from mostly negative to now mostly positive, which is a huge redemption story in itself. In July of 2022 we had Endurance, which was a freighter overhaul. Revamped capital ships, you are now allowed to build massive multi-level cities inside the freighter, so a huge freighter base. They had exterior catwalks and observation decks added as well, amongst a whole other range of things. And we had living frigates introduced as well, including the whale song where you have to hunt them down, and then you can add them as part of your frigate fleet. They're really cool and you can manipulate them with food to change their stats. I really like the living frigates, they add something different to the game and to your frigate fleet. Waypoint was next in October of 2022, and that brought it to the Nintendo Switch, which still has some issues. Switch players, let me know. An inventory revamp as well, increased storage caps, which is great for any game. They also introduced the ability to change the difficulty level in game. Unless you put this to no, in your original settings when starting a new save. Early 2023, and we had the Fractal update. PSVR 2 came to the game, and they had the Wonders catalogue, among a bunch of other features like visual optimizations and alien structure, ambiance, and all sorts of other things. Interceptor came in April of 2023, which gave us corrupt sentinels, dissonant worlds, purple crystals, and new gravity anomalies on those worlds. Sentinel ships as well. We got a brand new ship in this update. The Sentinel ships are great. I absolutely love them, although they're not customizable, which is something I'd like to see in the future. But you have to hunt down, repair, and destroy the corrupted sentinels to try and get one. It's a great feature to the game. Echoes came in August of 2023. This introduced an entirely new race, the Autophage, with their own language and lore, mission sets as well. And you can now create staff. So these are custom multi-tools where you'd build your own staff and you'd go through the Autophage missions to be able to complete this. They also added pirate dreadnoughts, so basically pirate freighters, including massive pirate freighter battles. Omega was released in February 2024, which now made pirate dreadnoughts claimable. There was an expedition overhaul. You could bring your own gear during those expeditions as well. There were new planetary missions, and there was an Atlas Path rework. March 2024 was the next update, and this was Orbital. This had a massive space station overhaul, something everybody in the community was looking for. They redesigned them to be procedurally generated with varied visuals on the inside, although the layout is the same. They also brought in something that was requested since launch, which was spaceship customization. Not entire customization. You took parts from spaceships when you scrapped them, and then you could build your own out of those parts. So you take the parts already within the game and try and put them together to make your own. It would look similar to some of the other spaceships already available, apart from the Interceptor. Couldn't do that with this one, but you could do it with the Hauler shuttle and the fighter. An absolutely massive update came in July of 2024, and this was Worlds Part 1. An engine overhaul for the game, a massive graphical leap, adding new water rendering, which was fantastic. It looked absolutely brilliant. Clouds, weather, and atmospheric fog, and a bunch of other stuff. They also added new worlds, new floating islands, insectoid fauna, and massive walking plant creatures. Very, very great update, this one. The community was very happy with Worlds Part 1. Aquarius came in September of 2024, and this basically added fishing. Fishing mechanics, baiting, exoskiff, deployable platform to fish in the middle of the deep oceans, which came as part of Worlds Part 1. And those deep oceans are absolutely brilliant, by the way. Worlds Part 2 came in 2025, and this had a massive continual overhaul of planets, adding gas giants, deep water oceans, entirely new star types, the purple star systems, and even more dramatical procedural terrain on these planets. It really did change the shape of the game. And of course, with things like Worlds Part 2 and some of the other updates, you got new storylines as well added to the game to add to those first 30 hours that were added all the way back in 2016. Relics was the next update, coming out in March 2025, and this brought fossil beds and dig sites to No Man's Sky, design skeletons and fossil displays, fossil exchange, stone guardians you had to fight on relic worlds, new skeletal companions, among some other additions. Really good update this, really enjoyed this one. Beacon was next on the list, coming out in June of 2025, and this brought No Man's Sky players to Nintendo Switch 2, already out for Nintendo Switch in an update that I haven't mentioned, but because this was part of Beacon, I thought I'd just mention it in this one. The settlement overhaul came as well. You could now have multiple settlements you could own, and you had autophage towns, new building types, and deeper management of those settlements. Decent update, enjoyed this one. In late 2025, we got another massive update, and one the community I don't think was entirely expecting, but was very, very grateful for, and that was Voyagers. And this introduced the Corvettes. You could actually build your own ship with the Corvettes, different pieces to make your ship completely customizable. Absolutely fantastic update, this one. The Corvettes are absolutely brilliant. The Corvette's kind of in between a starship and a freighter. You can have a little base on there, you get your cargo pods on there, but it's not so big that you can't fly it, essentially. You can't fly freighters in No Man's Sky, but these Corvettes sort of give you a halfway house. There's mission boards in there. They are absolutely brilliant, and they are only going to add to these Corvettes with future updates as well, I'm sure. More pieces, more weapons, more engines, you name it, they'll add it. Just like they do with every update, they do add new pieces to previous updates that have already been out. Before we talk about the next update, I do just want to talk about Remnant. Remnant was an expedition, but it did add stuff to the game like some other expeditions which I haven't mentioned. It added trash collection to the game, and it overhauled the Colossus as well, so you could change it into a flatbed and carry stuff around. I haven't mentioned any of the other expeditions that are part of this game. Some of them came with these updates I mentioned, some of them are standalone expeditions for players to do, so just bear that in mind. We then had Xeno Arena in April of 2026, and this basically brought creature battling, not Pokemon, of course not, to No Man's Sky. You'd fight NPCs using your collected fauna, your pets. So they've added onto the Companions update with adding Xeno Arena, something else to do with your pets, which kind of highlights that we're adding upon older updates. Now, other games do this as well, of course. This isn't something that is unique to No Man's Sky. I'm just pointing it out that all of this has been done over the course of 10 years to add all of this content to make the game what it is today. Now, I really enjoyed Xeno Arena, but it's not something that I'd go back into the game to do day in, day out. It might be something I'd do if I'm just feeling like a bit lazy and I want to just have a bit of a creature battle. Nothing wrong with that. But it's not the kind of game overhaul update like Worlds Part 1 or 2 was, of course not. It still adds something to the game. And then in May of 2026, so just a month later, we had the Swarm, which is mainly a expedition update, a bit like Remnant, but did add some other features to the game, like dismantling the bodies of the fallen alien swarmers, for example. That brings us up to date with the 35 major updates brought to the game, plus Remnant. But if there is any features that I've missed or anything that you want to highlight, please do let me know down in the comments. There's absolutely loads of stuff I have not mentioned because we'd just be here all day. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the 10th anniversary update is going to be, assuming there is going to be one, of course. Let me know what you think it's going to be. I'd really like something like true multi-tool customization. That would be my thing. Let me know what you'd like to see. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully you're still enjoying No Man's Sky. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.